Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for watching this video. I had a good night's rest. It's been 4 back-to-back meetings and it's been intense. It's not been easy physically. My throat is just holding up, and I'm starting a meeting now at 10 o'clock, so it's less than an hour and a half to go, and I'm not even at the other venue, so I need to leave this venue and get there. But I have something very important in the news that I need to discuss, and it's something I've been discussing in my past videos for a long time. So all of you that are new to my channel, thank you for subscribing. Remember to click the bell icon to get notifications for new videos. But in this specific news article, the headline, and this is in the Financial Mail, the headline is "Revealed what doctors advised Mkhize about taxis, the lockdown and schools." These are our doctors, our South African scientists, and the people that we should be listening to. But in this article it's revealed that our government did not listen to them. They only listened to them later. And that News 24 had to go to the PAIA Act to actually get the documents about what the MAC, the Ministerial Advisory Committee on the Coronavirus Pandemic, what they had actually told our government. And I've covered this extensively before, because each time a member of the MAC said that they are going against what our government is doing. And I revealed that the government was absolutely furious at the fact that they were being undermined, and they were almost like punishing us, like we were little children, not like we were living in a constitutional democracy. And this article will prove that. Now we have the evidence. The Health Department argues that it took almost all the recommendations it was given by scientists, South African scientists, but a read of their advisory show that the government was at best sometimes painstakingly slow at listening to its experts. But that's being very kind. If you don't implement something when you're advised to do it, you're not listening to them. If you're doing it later, it means you didn't listen to them. It's plain and simple. Who did they listen to? The World Health Organization, an unelected body which is under the UN, a subsidiary of the United Nations, an organization we need to throw out of this country lock, stock and barrel. Because this is proof that we don't have a government at all. If you have a government, it means that they listen to their advisors and experts. But our government is controlled from overseas. And that's why if you come to my meetings, you will hear why we don't have any governments anywhere in the world currently. Because the United Nations and all the crony organizations that control them and that they control, they are actually running the world, not governments. Months before the economy was finally opened 2 weeks ago, scientists were advising the government about the harm of the lockdown. Months ago. The collateral damage that was being done to the health and the way irrational regulations could backfire. This sounds like the government is being set up, and I will explain in my meetings why our government was set up to fail, why this was planned since the 70s already, and that I have evidence for that, besides what I heard with my own ears. In meetings with high-ranking officials like Margaret Thatcher, speaking to South African businessmen, not the president at the time. But if you come to my meetings, you will understand exactly how that fits together. But let's carry on with the article. The Ministerial Advisory Committee, or MAC, which I've spoken out on a lot before, a group of world-class scientists, South African scientists, okay, has given the government advice about how to manage the COVID-19 epidemic with regards to various topics, including how many people can safely ride in a taxi, when to open schools, and what treatment options are. So they are even saying what should be used for treatment. But I can tell you now that my daughter has confirmed that they are using World Health Organization protocols in hospitals. This is what's being forced down their throat by our government. Thanks to requests from news outlet News 24, the MAC's recommendations have now been made public. So our minister did not want to make the MAC regulations public at all. Mkhize had earlier refused to release them. This is our current government. despite the scientists' desire for that to be done. Obviously, the scientists wanted what they said to be revealed to the public, because they must be looking like a real bad bunch and look like absolute buffoons. They wanted to make it known to the public that they were against what our government did. He has admitted, however, that the government did not always follow the MAC's advice, as it also considered views from other quarters. Who are these quarters? The World Health Organization. He should tell us who outside of South Africa is telling our government what to do, and then they implement what these outside forces tell them to do. This needs to be made public, and people need to come to my meetings and find out what's really going on behind the scenes. I cover this in great detail. But News24 sent the government a promotion of access to information request, which is part of the PAIA Act, giving it 60 days in total to release the advisories, which it didn't do. So they refused to do it. Still, earlier this month, News24 filed an appeal. On Thursday, when Mkhize's health department released the documents, it argued rather defensively that it had taken almost all the advice. But they didn't say when. They took none of their advice. I can guarantee you that. None of it. The fact that they did it months later doesn't mean they took the advice then and then decided to implement it later. It means that they ignored them completely. And I quote, "There are few advisories, less than 5%, that were not implemented by the department and in their entirety," said the department's press release. Well, doing something months later does not mean that you complied with when the people told you to do something. So they are lying. This is disingenuous. But a quick read of some 45 advisories reveals that the government was, at best, painstakingly slow at listening to its experts, even as the economy was deteriorating steeply. The result, an estimated 3 million job losses, widespread hunger, and huge tax shortfalls. We know the devastation that this has caused. The government's lethargy in taking the doctor's advice on the lockdown restrictions looks even worse if one considers that so little of the promised 500 billion economic stimulus package has been delivered. For example, a key part of the stimulus is a 200 billion loan guarantee scheme. But even though it was designed to help an estimated 700,000 businesses, only 10,000 companies had been granted these loans by the beginning of August. So it didn't get to its end intention. And the temporary employment relief scheme, meant to make up any shortfall in salaries due to COVID-19, was suspended due to fears of fraud. That was their excuse. Well, fears of fraud are real, especially in our country. When it comes to the science, the advisories reveal, and these points will knock your socks off. As early as May 26th, the country's top scientists argued for all schools, nursery schools, and creches to open. They said the majority of children display no or mild symptoms and are at low risk of severe illness or death, while schools provide the benefits of education and in many cases a meal. They said there needed to be reasonable protocols to protect children and teachers and adult staff. Yet it was only 3 months later, on August the 24th, that schools were reopened. Now that's not following advice, whether you agree with the advice or not. Cyclical lockdowns. This is important. Listen to this. Ones that start and stop are not worth the harm they cause. This is what they advised. Businesses still fear that new restrictions may be imposed. In other words, government keeps on threatening that they can take us to a higher lockdown level if we are naughty, like little children. Businesses still fear that new restrictions may be imposed. They can take heart from the fact that the scientists advise the government, and I quote, "The moderate benefit of cyclical lockdowns does not appear to justify the enormous societal and economic costs that would be incurred." Now, I've been saying this all along because we've had evidence for a long time. These are scientists. They look at evidence. They advised our government that what is happening to us is nonsense. On May the 19th, scientists told the government how much damage the single focus on a lockdown to counter COVID-19 was causing the treatment of other diseases. And I have spoken about this at length, especially TB. And they used TB as an example. The advisories recounted how tests for tuberculosis, SA's biggest killer, had halved in 7 weeks. So we halved the amount of tests for TB. It's killing more people. They are saying that COVID-19 is not the biggest killer. TB is. But we're not focusing on TB. We're not wearing masks for TB. They're not putting up road signs saying, think TB. No, they put up road signs saying, think COVID-19. A psyop indeed. SA's biggest killer had halved in 7 weeks. They read, the disruption of TB services represented but a single example, one example of unintended consequences of an unmeasured approach, such as a total lockdown. They call it an unmeasured approach, which means there's no science for it. Our government killed the economy with no evidence. And that is why they need to be removed through a new system. This is absolutely shocking. To mitigate the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic, our government went and put us in a total lockdown, which was unmeasured. Remember that. Also on May 19th, scientists urged the government to move to save lives and livelihoods concurrently, detailing the economic damage caused by the lockdown. So they were saying that what you're doing now doesn't justify the means you are using at all. The advisory said that taxis should not go above 70% capacity. Now this shows that the people that scream the loudest and could influence the vote of the ANC the most are the ones that are listened to. Even as the government allowed taxis to go to 100% capacity when they came under pressure from the industry. So our government were looking after their own political seats. But soon we'll put a system in place that makes that irrelevant. And no party will have the power anymore. And I will drive that to the very end. And we will have direct elections under a new political system. It might take time to get there. But we are working on the ground right now on the stour to make that happen. I've now met with over 400 people across the country. Hundreds here in Gauteng. And all these people have the knowledge that I need to give them to act and know what to do in future with regards to our political system. On July the 21st, an advisory said that South Africa had benefited significantly from going into lockdown, but despite this, there was widespread community transmission of the virus. And this is very important to understand, okay? Saying that the virus continued to spread, although we had the severe lockdown. So it meant nothing. There was widespread community transmission of the virus. It said that South Africa had one of the highest rates of infections per million people compared to other countries which had embarked on such a severe lockdown early on. But we know that the virus wasn't killing many of these people that were infected. This suggests that South Africa's severe lockdown had low impact, which means the lockdown was unwarranted. The evidence suggested that it meant nothing, not what had happened in killing businesses, people losing their jobs, people committing suicide, killing themselves because they see no future anymore. That same advisory said that even during level 5 lockdown, there was already an increase in incremental infections because of the difficulty of containing the epidemic in crowded, low-income spaces. The lockdown, while making people poorer, didn't stop the spread in poorer areas. So it was a complete waste. It was designed to destroy the economy. And this happened with advice from idiots outside our country. Unelected idiots. And you think we're a democracy or a republic? Think again. By July 21st, scientists advised that the lockdown had no further benefit. July 21st, no further benefit. as there was such widespread transmission of COVID-19. It said, there is no evidence that an attempt to implement a large lockdown at this level of community transmission is effective. They want to work with evidence, the way I work, facts and evidence. It has not been attempted anywhere in the world to have such widespread infection and still trying to contain it. So there was no benefit. This is July 21st. Yet despite that advice, it took the government almost 4 weeks to lift restrictions. Not all restrictions, some restrictions. It shifted to stage 2 on August 17th. People, we have been taken for a ride. A huge ride. At the end of the article it says, the experts from the advisories quoted above show that while Mkhize is right that the government did listen to the advice often, it didn't do so speedily, even as the economic damage mounted. Now I call that not listening to the advice. How can you say that someone listened to the advice when actually what happened is that they only did things much later? That's not listening at all. So I'm going to leave you at that. My next meeting starts in 1 hour and 10 minutes and I still have to drive to the next venue. So I'll be walking straight into that meeting. As you can hear, my voice is already under a lot of strain. I will be taking a bit of a break in next week. There are meetings Monday and Tuesday, but the next meeting will be on Saturday. I might have a meeting on Thursday and Friday, and I'll let you know what happens with that. We'll be going to Limpopo. There were people that asked us to go and do meetings there, and then from there, we will be in Mossel Bay on the 12th, and so we are going down to Cape Town, doing a few meetings there, and we will go back to KwaZulu-Natal and we'll spend an extended period of time in KZN, at least probably a month, with the amount of meetings that are waiting for us there. So we'll do a brief stint back to Cape Town, come back up to KZN, we'll visit all the provinces, we'll get to the Free State, the Northern Cape, the Northwest Province, Limpopo, all the areas will be visited. If I miss someone out, sorry for that. I won't miss you out on the tour. I will be there. So at the moment, we are funded for the next 3 weeks of the tour. For all of you that can help to fund the rest of the tour, the details for the tour, the banking details is underneath the video in the description. Thanks to all of those of you that have contributed towards making this possible. You've kept us on the road, and the South African people will hopefully keep on doing that so I can continue this with my family. We've really been blessed with so many people. The hostess and the host that we've had here have been absolutely marvelous to us, and I really want to thank them. Everywhere that we've been, the people have been incredible. They have been helping to organize meetings. We had large meetings here at this venue. We'll have more large meetings here, I believe, in next week. We will be back here in next week as we make our way to some meetings on the other side of Gauteng, and then we'll make our way down to Cape Town to be in Mossel Bay on the 12th, and from there we'll have a couple of meetings around Cape Town and then move out to KwaZulu-Natal, where we will have extensive meetings. It's best to go there and spend time there, and I really thank you for those contributions you've made. So if you want to keep us on the road, it all depends on you. We stop when you stop believing in what we are doing. But this article just proves to you that we don't have a government. They are regulated from outside the country. They won't even listen to their own experts. If you come to my meetings, you will understand why this is happening. I will always give you articles that provide evidence and explain to you why a new world order is being established and who is driving that new world order, which is an ideology, not an organization. But there's many organizations driving this ideology, and once you've been to my meeting, you'll understand where it comes from and where it's going. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. Please share this video. Click the like button because it drives algorithms, and click the bell icon so you can get notifications for new videos. Now I need to rush off to my next meeting, and I'll probably just run straight in when I get there. Looking forward to seeing you there. Till the next video.